I always noticed I really couldn't breathe. It appeared in some sense that the reason I was ill was because I was taking benzodiazepines. That isn't why. I was ill and then I took them. When I was working on my book a lot, I used to call Tammy. I'd say, look, you have to come and get me. I can't stop. I can't stop. Are we not married anymore? It's like you need your own room. If you starve dogs down, I think it's 20% below rats too, below their optimal body weight, they live 30% longer. 30%! Yeah, 30%. Because I have a network of people who have networks who are setting me up with key decision makers in each country.
How do you get to sleep?
Fortunately, that is almost never a problem. Even when I was unbelievably ill for about 3 years. I thought about that a lot too, that I didn't do a really good job of explaining that while I was ill, because it appeared in some sense that the reason I was ill was because I was taking benzodiazepines. That isn't why. I was ill and then I took them. And very low dose, and I took that for a long time, and it helped whatever was wrong with me. And it looks like it was an allergy, or maybe multiple allergies. And then that stopped working, and so I took a little bit more for about a month, and that made it way worse. And so then I cut back a lot, and then things really got out of hand. And so
there was a deeper thing.
Oh yeah,
in the
definitely.
benzo.
Oh yeah.
What can you put words to?
Well, I had a lot of my daughter, as everyone knows, has a very reactive immune system, and Tammy has 3 immunological conditions, each of them quite serious. And I had psoriasis and peripheral uveitis, which is an autoimmune condition, and alopecia areata, and chronic gum disease, all of which appeared to be allergy related. And so Mikhaila seems to have got all of that. And so that I think was at the bottom of, because I also had this proclivity to depression that was part of my family history. But I think that was all immunological as far as I can tell. So one of the things that's happened to me, I always noticed I really couldn't breathe. Like I could breathe about 1/5 as much as I sometimes could. And so I was always short of breath. And it looks like what that was perhaps was I was always on the border of an anaphylactic reaction, which is not pleasant. And that's hypersympathetic activation, no parasympathetic activation. I couldn't relax at all.
That's an immunological response.
Allergic response, yeah. So anyways, that was what seemed... Now, I don't like to talk about this much because it's so bloody radical and, I don't like to propagate it, but this diet seems to have stopped all of that. I don't have psoriasis. All of the patches have gone.
Yeah.
My gum disease, which is incurable, I had multiple surgeries to deal with it, is completely gone. Took 3 years. My right eye, which was quite cloudy, is cleared up completely. What else has changed? Well, I lost 50 pounds. And like instantly. Well, that's an optimization of death, because when you fast, your body logically and obviously, if you think about it biologically, is, well, what does your body scavenge first? Well, damaged tissue. I know the literature on fasting to some degree, and it's very compelling literature. If you starve dogs down, I think it's 20% below rats too, below their optimal body weight, they live 30% longer. That's a lot, 30%. Like it's like 30%. Yeah, 30%.
Well, there is aspect to a lot of these things that make me nervous because I always feel like there's no free lunch, that I'm going to pay for it somehow. But there is a focus that I am able to attain when I fast, especially when I eat once a day. Mm-hmm. My mind is almost like nervously focused. It's almost like an anxiety, but a positive one, or one that I can channel into just like an excitement.
I wonder how much of that's associated with, well, imagine that signifies lack of food, which is not that hard to imagine. Well, maybe you should be a lot more alert in that situation, right? Yeah. Biologically speaking, because you're in hunting mode, let's say, not desperate, but in hunting mode. And God only knows, maybe human beings should be in hunting mode all the time. When I was working on my book a lot, I used to call Tammy. I'd say, look, you have to come and get me. I can't stop. Mm-hmm. I can't stop. I got tired, and then I kind of, because it's part of a kind of hypomanic focus. I couldn't quit. It's like, oh no, I'm still writing. I need to get away from this, but I couldn't stop. It's better to read something. Book.
Fiction, nonfiction.
Fiction. Stephen King. I was reading a lot of Stephen King when I was on tour last time. That was good. I like Stephen King a lot.
Great narratives.
Great, and great characterization. There's a familiarity about Stephen King's writing too, that he writes about people you know. Mm-hmm. And so I really found that a relief. Well, that's taken a lot of negotiation on the part of Tammy and I, because she's dragged into this, and, her life is part of this, whatever this is. And she's had to find her way, and has. For example, now she has a different hotel room than me when we travel. And she found that she didn't want to be on the tour this spring. And I was ill again for part of it, and that made it complicated. But she went away back home, and she came back, and she said, and she was nervous about it. She said, I think I need my own room. And part of me was not happy with that. It's like, what do you mean you need are we not married anymore? It's like, you need your own room. And she said, well, I can't. She has to do exercises because she was really sick, and she has to keep herself in shape. She has to have some time to do that. And she does a lot of prayer and meditation, and she needs the time. And she has her own podcast, which is going quite well, and she needs the time. And I trust her. And she said, well, I need this in order to continue. And I thought, well, okay. If you need this in order to continue, yes. Because she went away and didn't say, well, I don't want to be on the tour. I don't want to do this anymore. She went away and prayed, let's say, how can I continue to do this? And that was the answer. And so she has her own hotel room. That was a really good decision on her part. And she's very good and getting better all the time at figuring out what has to happen for her to make this sustainable. And all that's been is a plus. I don't want to travel without her, and I don't want her life to be miserable, and I want her to be fully on board. And so she has to be properly selfish, like everyone does in a relationship.
Yeah, and you have
there's another element to it too that I didn't tell you about. So that was a typical day, but it's missing a big component, because usually we also have a dinner with like 30 cultural representatives, I suppose, 10 to 30 from each country, because I have a network of people who have networks who are setting me up with key decision makers in each country. And so then we have like an hour and a half of that. Now, sometimes that's on a day when I don't have a talk, but sometimes the talks are back to back. She also has to manage that and to be gracious. And then people are showing us exciting things and tours in the cities, and which is all like it's a surfeit of wonderful. And if you haven't yet done so, and you feel like doing it, hit the subscribe button